It's December 15th, 2024, and rapper Zukenee gets brought out on stage to perform at a festival that he's been dreaming of for years. After releasing hundreds of songs, he's finally starting to make a real breakthrough. From fandom listening to his music on stream, working with many known producers such as Beanie X, Richie South, and Carter Got Wings, to getting over 60,000 monthly listeners on Spotify alone. With no interviews, not much is known about him or how he even got his start in music. So you might be wondering who he is and how he even got to this point. To answer those questions, we gotta take a dive back to the beginning of it all.
You can't even butt with the slay in real life, man. Y'all niggas stay on the internet.
I wanna polish my swords and shit, you know I'm on some slay shit.
Aziz Fard, also known as Zukenee, was born in Atlanta, Georgia on or around January 17, 2002 or 2003, making him either 22 or 23 years old as of this recording. Little is known about his childhood in Atlanta, except that he attended South Cobb High School and played football growing up. In his songs, he mentions dropping out of school, and the graduation ceremony video from his class of 2020 includes someone with the same last name as him being called across the stage, but not his first name, Aziz, so he likely actually did drop out of school. Assuming he dropped out of school and stopped playing football, he turned to rapping. His earliest known song, Make Me Wanna, is not on streaming platforms, and while the video exists online, I'm not gonna play it here just to save him embarrassment, but you guys can go find it for yourselves.
Racks on me, what about you? This money kinda it's these bad guys get so lethal.
But this song would mark the start of his musical career. After this, looking on his SoundCloud, the first song he posted would be titled Thoughts.
He racks on me, but I struck EBT. You know of me, you don't know me. Speaking out, I was all by my own.
The song is pretty low quality, but not as low quality as the first. He tried a few newer things like reverbs and whatnot, and he actually had a few bars. His second song, Fuck an Opinion,
On shit we exposed. My foot in the door, it is open.
will be the same sort of lower quality. But based on these three earlier songs, it's clear he wasn't taking music seriously yet, even stating he wasn't a rapper in the description of his song, Thoughts. However, somewhere around here, a fire sparked inside him, and he developed some sort of passion for it. Following these singles, he made noticeable improvements, leading to his first EP titled Undiscovered. Starting off 2021, his Undiscovered EP would have 3 songs, and although they're not in an actual playlist, they got the same cover, and there's a comment saying this tape is fire, so it was obviously meant to be a little EP. An improvement compared to his songs released previously, and it's clear at this point he had a vision to be something. It was reflecting in his music. There wasn't really anything that stood out at this point yet, but there was one track being titled MVP.
Man, that's all I see. Back then they didn't believe in me.
He would drop 3 more singles, being Rounded Up,
I count it up. It's at the 12, it's rounded up. My god bitch gon' roll up my blunts, my god.
Slovakia,
Let's go, we right left creek like troopers. She wanna get high as the moon. I push the
and Let's Go,
weekend and nobody gotta know. I scoot you in the bins wherever you wanna.
including a feature on the song Climbing with Rodney,
So ho, spin a bridge. I'm at that pad, this 3rd time sequel. I'm a big down nigga, not no beagle.
who is someone that he would frequently collab with later on down the line in his career. His Now Before Later EP dropped to SoundCloud would be his second EP, but this time it would feature a notable name being Hard Rock on the song Before.
Talk to this shit, get deep, could shed a tear. Yeah, high fuck I.
And being that he's from Atlanta, it was inevitable that he would have run into another rapper at some point. But this connect with Hard Rock would actually pay off, with Hard Rock mentioning him, which we'll get into later on. Although Zukenee uses a lot of auto-tune, especially in the early stages of his career, his ear for beats was shown on this EP, like on the song Me, Myself, and I.
Niggas ain't ready to slide. Yeah, I've been getting money, these niggas ain't time about shit. I ain't putting my pride to the side.
Continuing on, before his next tape, he would drop 24 more singles, excluding features. And if you think that's a lot, just wait till you see the amount of singles he would put out later, between his tapes. During this time, he was really just experimenting with sounds, trying to find what works for him, using a wide range of sounds like on which is literally just a song of him doing the same ad-lib. Playback, which uses a rock sample. Life with the heavy bass. Real versus fake with the melodies. On Seeing Things, he had a little less auto-tune. And he would also drop another single featuring Hard Rock, being 44. But nonetheless, in 2022, Zukenee had dropped 3 tapes, with the first being Castle Flow, released on the 5th of May to SoundCloud. Getting into the project, the first song, Castle Flow, was decent. But the one thing throwing me off on this tape was the auto-tune. Feelings gave me immediate Young Nudie and Pierre vibes. Listening to the tape, I started getting Slime Ball, sort of like Nudie Land vibes, and this I'll come back to later on. Pain Interlude being the song to end the tape. He showcased a good flow with the pause he had in between bars. The Reedson's tape, an EP he released somewhere in the middle of 2022 after his Castle tape, wouldn't get much attention, especially now with it being buried under his huge archive of music. The first song, shit was kinda cool with the melody in the back, as well as Milligrams. After this, he was fully in that mode, dropping 28 singles, excluding features. To shorten it down, because obviously I'm not gonna play everyone, there was a couple that were notable, such as Long Day, featuring an artist that is also going up now, being Skate Star. Another notable feature being Lifeless Garments on the song Roof. I ain't gonna lie, this song was actually kinda tough. The beat is wavy and both of them found their flows on this. From what I could find, on September 18th, he would finally do his first performance at what looks like a mini event. And looking at the crowd, even though it was small as hell, he had a little something going on. Nonetheless, people turned up, meaning that there was some potential. It wasn't like he was going nowhere. Even though it was going along slowly, his work was starting to make little scratches on the surface. I haven't really talked about his influences, but on September 14th, he would make this tweet and I instantly knew where this is from. Come on now. This is still top 3 Cardi to this day. I don't give a fuck what a nigga talking about. With this being tweeted, Cardi was someone that obviously had some sort of influence, or he at least drew some sort of inspiration from. There's even a tweet from back in 2020, December 25th to be exact, the same day Cardi dropped Whole Lotta Red, and he was actually fucking with the album from the jump. Dropping on November 11th, the Playful tape only hit Spotify and Apple Music, but not SoundCloud. The production did level up, but he would still stick to the heavy auto-tune. He came in kinda strong with the first 3 tracks being Check, Big Body, and Be High. He would also try using more melodies, like on the last song being Be There, which samples Young Thug's You Said, even taking reference to some of his flows.
You said you gon' fuck me to death when you see me, you said that, you said that. You said you gon'. You said yeah, be that bitch, be hubby on my dick, but I be.
Him being from Atlanta, it's no surprise Thug has some sort of influence in Zukenee's music, adding Thug to the list of influences. As far as music videos, he would only shoot one for Big Body. By now, it should be obvious that he's taking music seriously, with 3 tapes being dropped in a single year combined with over 30 singles. But in 2023, although he had only dropped 1 tape, which would finally start pushing him in front of more faces, Zukenee would also drop a shit ton more singles, and by shit ton I mean over 60 total singles in just 1 year alone. And by April, he would pass 300,000 total streams on SoundCloud. Now with him in that mode, before releasing his next tape, he dropped around 60 singles all within the first half of the year, with tracks such as Chemist, he would also drop another collab with Skate Star being Trance, They/Them, Vetmonts, First Month being produced by Clayco, who, if you didn't know, is a pretty well-known producer. He worked heavily with Lauren early on in his career and even produced on Cardi's latest album being Music on the song Opium Barbie. These were just a few of the songs that he would release in the time between his next EP on July 14th, 2023 being Stop Playing. Before the release of the tape, Days Within, who if you didn't know is a pretty prevalent news or media outlet for up-and-coming artists, will promote the tape. Zukenee, 2 days later, would share these photos with the caption, "Finish the tape in the middle of nowhere." And if you look at his setup, it's pretty minimal. Again, showing artists you don't need a crazy setup when starting out, you just need to start and have the drive for it. Released on January 14th, the tape would have 14 songs with no features, but this time it would actually start to have a little buzz around the tape. It wasn't a lot, but it was something, and the quality jumped tremendously, starting with the first song being Ferris. This was also the only song to get a music video off the tape. The beat selection for these songs were chosen well, with songs such as Boner, Orgy, spot him.
I take off RIP rocket, yeah. She wanna mingle, I wanna get her jingle. She shaking it.
Wraith.
Shoot the bait. I cut the racks up, hold her right. I count some money like every day.
And Corny.
I got locked in that room, I just started my demon.
Nigga had some freaky ass song names, but hey, fuck it. The most notable thing is that he finally lowered the auto-tune, and I would say in this tape he would start to actually find his sound in terms of his pitch and flows. Going back to Doug, he would release a single titled Free Sex on September 1st, as at the time Doug was obviously locked up.
Free sex, free sex, free sex, free sex, free sex.
He'll go on to release the music video for it on October 21st. This track is cool, honestly. The beat, the ad-libs, all that, just showing his support for Doug at the time. Him connecting with hard rock, as I previously mentioned, would pay off in a kind of minimal way, but it was still something. He just got mentioned in the email about a song hard rock played a part in for Leagues 1017, which is a brand owned by Matthew Williams. He used to be creative director for Da Vinci, worked heavily with Cardi, Ye, and is basically just a well-established clothing owner. September 13th, 2023, a late night in Atlanta, and Cardi throws a birthday party in a warehouse. In the middle of the moshing and raving, Zukenee was there posting these photos to his ex account. A month after this, he would post this to his ex account, hinting towards his next tape being Player Slayer, which he'd release the following year in 2024. Around the same time, he would also be in the studio with Skatestar, and reposted this post in December, hinting towards a possible collab with Daredevil in future, which we would see come true later on. This was also the last real notable tweet from this account before he would stop using it and switch over to the account he's currently using now. But during this time of him rolling out his next tape, he'd obviously been dropping singles, keeping up the consistency and output. But this time, before his next tape, Player Slayer, he dropped 70 singles, excluding features. He was hungry. He knew he had a little buzz, and he had to capitalize off of it, even if it was just a little. Now, he'd make a connection with another up-and-coming artist who's also creating a lot of noise in 2025, being 13 Degrees, and would release 3 collabs with them in this run of singles, being Niggas in Playground, or whatever that's called.
I got the whole calling back. I fuck that hoe, what you call it, yeah. I fuck that hoe, pop my
and Shy Lanta.
And now it be, I got to say something. Get the fuck out of my face, ho. Yeah, don't give it, I ain't low.
He'd also have Bobalam, a well-known reporter in the scene, host 2 of his songs, being 100 and Amber Rose.
Real young slayer, been counting paper. Wait till my name, it's like swimming, I do the same shit. I took a picture for the camera.
With music videos for both of them posted to one of Bob's alternative YouTube channels. I honestly didn't even know Bob did shit like this, honestly. Another collab with Skate would be released, being Whatever You Need.
She say you're dancing with the devil. It's like over real, bro, hope I can never.
And this track would end up getting quite a lot of attention, with over 80,000 plays on SoundCloud. Zukenee was using more of his melodic flows on this track compared to what he normally does. Project Foreplay and Neezus would be first-time collabs on the songs Medusa and Cinemax.
It ain't never been like ones that I ain't get back. The way that I'm living my life.
In this run of singles, he noticeably reduced the amount of auto-tune he used. Not all of these singles were dropped in 2023. These are just a few of the standout ones from the dozens that he released. Nonetheless, in 2024, it worked tirelessly with the point to prove, dropping 3 tapes in just 2024 alone, with each having a noticeable step up in quality, starting with Player Slayer. Released on the 18th of February to SoundCloud and a month later to other streaming platforms. Going into the tape, this is where I feel the nudie influence would really take full effect on some of these songs. He even made a tweet a few months before releasing the tape saying he needed slimeball nudie beats, kind of further confirming I was right on that. It would only have one feature, being Talon Where You At on the song Saran. Songs like X Off the List have a bounce to it that kind of just make you rock with it, and I like how he played with his voice pitch on it too. Peep, now this song, I ain't gonna lie, I had to play this shit back like 5 times. That little melodic flow that he had at the start cranked him. Actress and Bass Slay were 2 more notable songs off the tape.
I can't give him leeway, I pull a weed stick. Two bad bitch play fight in my bed. The Michael Drake sleep in my bed. I'm the
But on Bankroll Play, it would have virtually almost no auto-tune.
kick piece shit, no, can't save her. Flashlight on a big lightsaber. 2X right now.
And this style, with the way he was rapping and the vibe the beat was on, would be a sound that he would stick to, basically making it his own. On March 19th, he would create what seems to be an alternate IG account, and I'm assuming he uses to roll out his music. Following the release of Player Slayer, Zukenee continued releasing singles while gearing up for his next 2 projects, releasing them almost back to back. And moving forward, he'll start to lean heavily toward this medieval aesthetic, literally taking photos with swords, introducing candles, wearing armor, and using these medieval photos. In these singles, he would make a noticeable shift to what he calls the Slayer sound, with songs such as Jack Sparrow,
So high like a parachute, so fly like a parrot, and know what that drink I might
Ratchet,
hardly steal nothing to me.
and lastly Slum.
While in the slums, quite got locked up at May Bond. Made it slay and shit look fun. Different
Zukenee had landed in New York on the 6th of June 2024 and completed the tape with the help of his executive producer Kate. Guillotine was no easy feat. The mixtape is a product of long nights in the dungeon, post-production as precise as the greatest war plans ever conducted, and the rare spirit of brotherhood and determination, not often found in the industry. After much toil and trouble, the 10-track mixtape was completed on the 10th of June 2024. That's taken from the description for the tape on SoundCloud. 2 months later, and he released it on August 9th, 2024. Every song in this tape was leagues better to what he had already released. Taking away the heavy auto-tune was, in my opinion, one of the best things he could have done. He really doesn't sound like anyone else. It's like he mixed the down south boozy sort of shit with his own spin on it. The songs I feel like stick out to me, well, really all of them, but starting with Dragons,
shoot that no more. We ain't gotta run from Popo. Certain foreign lines that so she seeing diamonds.
Village,
I got some heart like a killie. I put the bitch in the guillotine. I heard the label, feeling me.
Trim Lewinsky,
Fucking I, I'm trying to fuck right now. Yeah, I'm on that bus, we play shit. I got the truck out.
and Blow Up.
They flip the word like a sandal. My life a movie, ain't flipping the channel. Got bitch in the spider, but they gon' ban you.
He was really finding 2, 3, 4 different flows on the same song. He was in his bag those 4 days. This tape would ultimately push him to around 5,000 monthly listeners. The work he had been putting in for years was finally starting to show. From here on, he would make more connections to well-known artists and producers, starting with Richie Self, with this screenshot shared.
I still rich, we rich.
Richie Self, if you didn't know, is a legendary producer. I'm not gonna hold you. He's produced heavily for artists such as Future, Dog, Cardi, Nudie, Juice WRLD, so yeah, pretty legendary. And around this time, on September 5th, he would get his On The Radar freestyle posted. Making more connections, on October 6th, a photo with him and Caribou would surface, and she would play an important role in making a goal that Zukenee has had for years become a reality. He had released a lot less singles this time, with tracks such as Pack a Punch,
You want the bad, it's the burger, no game. I got the swag, that's the player from Sway.
Buffington,
Woke up grinding, didn't I got rich. Woke up smiling.
and Disease.
Keep the knife for me for beef. My dog until they free. On that say like shit.
Which would be a single from his next and final tape of 2024, being Birth to Slay. On the lead up to the tape, Zukenee will post snippets to his Player Slayer account, and on October 30th, the 11-song tape would be released to SoundCloud. Here is where I feel he really understood what works for him. He had to go through a lot of songs and experimentation over the years, but eventually he found it. On songs like Pat Pat, it just reminds me of the old chill or boozy songs with the double vocal effects and him saying, "Pat my head with the itch," that ratchet shit.
On my heat, rubbing on my heat, rubbing on my heat, and I be on and on. Pat my head with it.
Treasure/Rasta, I'm pretty sure were 2 tracks combined.
He was thinking he the best, I do it better. But head in the coupe, I pull a shoe and out the
He doesn't just play with his flows, he plays with his voice pitch too on songs like Dirt Day.
I got clients at the day.
Brother was a vibe as well.
Didn't want no fucking problem, I just want the fucking dollar. I'm in all black lights and Charlie sipping.
But obviously the one track that stood out the most, to me at least, was Mary Kate.
I got my mojo, I'm fuck the bitch and let the hoe go. Yeah.
This track, he was going ham. From the beat starter to his flows, yeah, this track was at one. He's blended this medieval aesthetic well with the ratchet down south references and vibes. It's a pretty unique combo that he's cooked up. Another influence to mention that people keep bringing up that I haven't brought up yet is Gucci Mane, and yeah, I can hear that. This song would even get played by Phantom on stream.
I got my mojo, I'm fuck the bitch and let the hoe go.
After the release of this tape, it reached a milestone of 1 million streams on SoundCloud just 7 days after releasing the tape. Still in that mode, Zukenee would be back back in the studio cooking up more music, sharing this snippet with the hashtag slaytanic, already gearing up for his next tape. The momentum continuing, Cole Bennett followed him on Instagram, but a few days after this, something that Zukenee had been talking about and manifesting for years, with tweets to mentioning it in his lyrics, will come true. And on December 17th in Miami, Caribou would bring him out to perform at Rolling Loud. This time, a lot less singles would be released after his tape, with most notably dropping his first collab with Daredevil, being Automatic. And even though it took a while from that tweet he retweeted all the way back in 2023, it still happened eventually. Around this same time, Zukenee and Xavier Sobased would be in the studio together working on music. Heading into 2025, leading up to the release of Slaytanic, Zukenee posted a lot more snippets, stepping back from dropping as the groundwork from all the music he had put out for years had been set, collaborating with a lot more well-known producers such as Cash Cobain, a snippet with Benny X, Soprano, and the previously mentioned Richie Self, and lastly Carter Got Wings. 3 days before the release of the album, he reveals the cover for it. Fast forward to the day of, a short film dropped for it. Later that night, Slaytanic finally gets released. During a release party on the day of its release on April 25th, Slaytanic, the 13-track album, would have no features. Out of all the snippets he previewed, only a handful of them made it onto the final cut. This being Zukenee's biggest release yet, sparked a lot of conversation around his name, even capturing the attention of Father, who, if you didn't know, is the founder of All 4 Records. In this tape, he hasn't really switched up his sound, he's more so just refined it or perfected it more. His flows in these little funny ass bars, there were points in this tape where I'm like, I fuck with this nigga, bro. The first track, Cut Your Hand,
I'm a fucking you, take it on a date. I got shooters and swords and a rape. No type, I don't look at.
These stutters on the beat are hard. It's low-key like his signature thing, cause I ain't hearing anyone else use it as much as him. Getting into Game Winner, produced by Murder Beats, and I could be wrong, but this beat pattern sounds so similar to F You 2 Times by Lil Baby, or Baby Money by Destroy Lonely. That could be the sample, or I could be completely wrong. You judge.
Tryna hang with us, you gon' have a plug. Question of the day, do I still sell drugs? Yeah, motherfucker, what you want?
I made Mary Kate while smoking Mary Kate. The real is gon' relate.
Bromance, he has Soprano on the beat.
Main thing, I just swap my main.
Now on Hindu, there were bars on this song where I'm like, this nigga hard, bro. I fuck with Lil Brat. He said, beat the pussy when it's furry, no issue. Meow. I was like, what? I was like, nah, for real. Then he said, money longer than a Sudanese slim dude. Hey, that bar was funny. I ain't gonna lie. I got pseudo partners, bro. They be lanky as shit.
Beat that pussy when it furry with no issue. Don't play with
Roof, he was flowing with the bounce to the beat.
and she like to slip inside. I need a coaster in this bitch. Up inside her early morning, need mimosa.
Sticks and Swords was hard, with Carter on production. Carter be making nasty ass beats.
She want 3 songs. It takes one to teach, one to lesson begun. Switch it up.
And Spontaneous Slay is this weird song, but I feel like it's a song you either like or you don't. It kind of lives up to its name. It's Spontaneous Slay.
Say like cut up the berries and shit. Get them in, get it right out. Work came in.
Out of this recording, he has over 80,000 monthly listeners. Looking back on his journey so far, it's clear he was working overtime for years, releasing music, mixtapes back to back, trying to find that one sound that moves him forward. And he finally did after releasing hundreds of songs. But that's just release. Think about all the thousands of songs that he has unreleased. And this goes for any artist or creative out there. Not everyone is gonna have that overnight viral hit off the rip. That's rare. Most of the time, you're gonna have to do what Zukenee did, and that's put in work for years just to build your audience, or even just to get that one opportunity you've been looking for. With this sort of work ethic, if he plays it smart, who knows where he could be.
It's my birthday. It's my birthday.